Hello everyone and welcome to Position Specific and welcome to the Coaching Journey 2 with an under-15s youth development phase team in the USA. We're up to week 11 now and this will actually be the last week of this particular journey as we've come to the end of our little pathway in terms of being the Hawaii Regionals. But I'll explain at the end kind of how everything's going to work and look over the coming months for Position Specific. And hopefully get you excited about a few of those things that we've got coming up. So let's dive into week 11 and exactly what we've got coming up for you. Okay, so we've got a game plan and a game review for our game or our final game in Hawaii, which was against Hawaii Rush. So we've got a few interesting things to look at and go through in terms of that game plan and that game review. We've had lots of people messaging us, asking us about the game metrics and how we come up with the game metrics and how we calculate the game metrics. So I'm going to run you through the playing out phase of our game model in attacking organisation and just show you exactly kind of how we calculate the game metrics to come up with that particular target and come up with that particular score against that target in terms of how we review the games and then how it shapes our week in terms of training and preparation. And then we're going to do a little bit of a Coaching Journey 2 review with this particular team that I've been working with, just around the four corners, so psychosocial, technical, tactical and physical, and kind of where we believe that we need to make some improvements as a team and where we're going to look at going forward for this particular team after our experience in Hawaii at the regional tournament. But let's get into the game plan against Hawaii. So as I mentioned before, because we're at the tournament and we're kind of like rolling from game to game, and we could kind of get a quick look at some of the teams for 15-20 minutes or so during their games as we finished our game kind of thing. So we get a quick look at teams and get a quick idea of what they could pose as a threat. And little bits and pieces on how we can play against them. So when we kind of had a quick look at Hawaii Rush in a particular game, when after our Alaska Rush game, we noticed that they were pretty much a 4-2-3-1 out of possession and a 4-3-3 in possession. So we knew that we wouldn't have to deal with any kind of system changes. We knew that the system matchup would be positive in terms of how we want to set up and how we want to play. So there's kind of no surprises in what we saw, but obviously we were prepared for whatever they might do in terms of a system. So with that in mind, a quick look at or a quick reminder of our game model and the four phases of how we kind of want to approach each game. And as I mentioned before, this game model is all around controlling the opposition in the four phases of the game. So obviously I'm going to show you a bit of a game plan in terms of attacking organisation and defensive organisation, as they can change a little bit from game to game, but usually your defensive transition and your attacking transition don't really change from game to game. They're still the same kind of target, still the same principles. The only thing that might change is if it's a different system matchup, whether that's a negative system matchup, they might change slightly in terms of that. But other than that, the defensive and attacking transitions always stay the same, and we always kind of believe that if we can control the transitions, then you've got a good chance of controlling and winning the game. And we back ourselves, especially in attacking organisation. We've had a few defensive organisation issues within this particular tournament, as teams are playing a little bit more direct than we've been used to previously. But apart from that, we feel pretty comfortable and confident in those organisational moments. So it's whether we can deal with the transitions and whether we can control those transitions will put us in a good position to control the game and ultimately hopefully get a result. So let's look at some attacking organisation in terms of playing out around the game plan against Hawaii. And what we noticed in kind of the game that we kind of witnessed the 15 to 20 to 25 minutes of was they were a little bit kind of usual in the press. So in terms of how they set up in terms of a 4-2-3-1, Obviously, that was going to put us in our usual structure. So our first line was always going to be our two centre-backs with the goalkeeper supporting below. Our second line was going to be our right-back and left-back and our central midfielder, or our defensive central midfielder. Our third line was going to be our two attacking midfielders. Then our fourth line was going to be our centre-forward and our two wide forwards, high and wide. So we knew that they would, most of the time they would just press with the 9 on their own. And what we did notice was that they sometimes tend to, or their left wide forward, or the number 11, the red number 11 in this particular picture, sometimes crept a little bit further forward, looking to press the centre back when the ball went to him. So we kind of knew that most of the time, from what we saw in that 20 minutes, most of the time that kind of happened. In terms of their left wide forward doing that, whether that's instructed or whether that was a something that the player was doing off his own back, we're not too sure, but that's what it looked like. Nothing else happened kind of from that, so their fullback didn't jump from their position onto our fullback, and none of the midfield players looked to press our fullback. So we identified that our right fullback would be open if this was the case. We just have to be aware of it, and we had to make sure that our goalkeeper and our centre backs were aware of it and that they could see that and see where the free player was. So in terms of obviously playing straight into our fullback, that was obviously an option. We mentioned to the boys, just be aware in case their fullback jumps onto our fullback and they slide across, or whether one of their midfielders goes to press our fullback. Just in case it's a bit of a trap. And if it was a bit of a trap, then our second kind of structure was going to look a little bit like this. So like we usually do, so our first line was going to become, our right back was going to drop a little bit lower, with our left centre back and our goalkeeper supporting below. Our second line was going to be our left back and our right centre back. So our right centre back was going to go in between the two pressing players and divide them. So as you can see in the picture there, our white number 5 was going to go and divide the 11 and the number 9 of the Reds. Our third line was going to be 3 central midfield players. So effectively our defensive midfielder just pushes higher alongside our 2 attacking midfield players, just to create space for those players in that 3v2. In terms of our right full back, a goalkeeper, our centre back, and our 2 centre backs. So 3v2, 4v2, depending on how you look at it. And then our fourth line was going to be the same in terms of our centre forward and our 2 wide forwards. So effectively, we wanted to exploit that space that was going to be left from our full back dropping a little bit lower. So that could be our centre back moving into that space once the ball goes to our full back and the opposition's left wide forward presses, or it could be a case of our number 7 or our right wide forward dropping into that space to get on the ball and just seeing what their fullback does. If their fullback goes with him, then obviously that gives us a chance to use that space beyond the opposition left fullback, whether that's a midfielder or our number 9 moving beyond into that space. Or even one of our central midfielders going and looking to attack, utilise that space wide from the left wide forward, from the opposition's left wide forward, leaving it. And again, just wanting to see what they would do. So whether one of the midfielders would go with him, whether that could create a little bit of space for our number 9 to drop in, or whether, and if nobody came with him, that giving them opportunity to get on the half turn, receive on the back foot, and obviously move forward with the ball, and obviously create a 2v1 maybe down the side against the left full back with our wide forwards. That's kind of how we kind of interpreted what they were going to do, and it wasn't, as I said before, it wasn't kind of like an initial or looked like a structured press that was set up. It looked like a little bit of the wide forward as quite quick, and I think he was just in his own mind, if he could get there and press the right centre back, then he would do. So we just wanted the boys to be aware of this. Okay, so moving into attacking organisation, playing in the game plan, and just a couple of little things we noticed about the opposition's team, Hawaii Rush, when we watched for 20 minutes. Just a couple of things we thought we might be able to exploit when we played them. So basically, what we wanted to make sure was when we were playing in the opposition's half, we wanted to have this particular structure. So effectively, our first line was going to be, as usual, our two centre backs and our goalkeeper supporting a little bit lower. Our second line was going to be our right back, left back, and our defensive midfield player. Our third line was going to be our 2 centre midfield players, or 2 attacking centre midfield players, and our fourth line was going to be our centre forward and our 2 wide forwards, high and wide. And we wanted our wide forwards to be as wide as possible. And obviously, like when that's the case, trying to work together with the fullbacks so they're not on the same line all the time. So if the fullbacks wide, can the 7 or 11 be on the inside? And then if our wide forwards or 7-11 are wide, can the fullbacks be on the inside as well? Just making sure that we're not on the same line all the time when we're attacking. And then we just gave the boys a couple of challenges in terms of exploiting the wide areas. So whether that was kind of making like 3v2s, if we could get our central midfield player across with our fullback and our wide forward against their fullback and their wide forward, or whether we could exploit a 2v2 or even sometimes create a 2v1 if we're quick enough down the sides, and we really wanted to try and exploit these wide areas, as we felt that we could get the better of the opposition's fullbacks from watching them play and just watching how the midfield operate in terms of defending as well. We felt that they might not, if we got our side triangle and side rotations going, we just felt that we might not be able, they might not come out and deal with that as well. But we wanted to get the ball into our wide forwards and see if we could get 1v1s against the fullbacks. As I mentioned, we felt that the fullbacks were two particular players that we could get after and create problems and cause problems for, especially in 1v1s. We then obviously I've just mentioned there about how we just thought that the side triangle rotations could be good because we felt that the midfield or their midfield weren't going to come and mark our midfielders if they went into those areas as well. So we felt that we could operate those particular side rotations quite well on both sides. In that particular case, that's our wide forward dropping a little bit lower to get on it, our fullback on the inside, and our attacking central midfielder on that side in the wide areas, and again trying to maybe exploit those fullbacks in wide areas and 1v1s. And obviously it can work the other way in this particular case on the other side, where our central midfield player drops a little bit deeper to get on the ball, our fullback pushes a little bit higher, and our left wide forward, it just makes the move on the inside. And again, just trying to maybe create those 3v2s down the side, or maybe try and exploit a 2v2 or get players in 1v1s against the opposition's fullback. So those were the types of challenges that we were looking for the boys, and obviously with that, making sure that our structure behind the ball was good, and obviously our centre backs and our defensive midfield player and whoever is on the opposite side, fullback, was slid across and ready to defend if it broke down, so we didn't concede too many counter attacks. Okay, moving into defensive organisation in terms of high and low press. Again, we felt that we were going to play a team that were going to be quite direct, and that were going to push to get the ball up and on us as much as possible, just like the other two teams that we played. We didn't really see them play out too much against in the 20 minutes that we saw this in this particular game. We just saw them playing a lot of direct, longer passes or longer balls onto opposition's defensive line. So that's kind of what we prep the boys to set up for. So like normal structure in terms of when it's a goal kick, or whether the goalkeeper or centre backs were in possession, we wanted our first line to be our centre forward and our two wide forwards high but compact, so nothing can kind of come through us. We're always looking to force the opposition down the sides or around us. Our second line was going to be our central attacking midfield player, who was going to occupy their deepest line midfield player. And if they had two deeper line midfield players, then obviously we just push our other attacking midfield player onto that third line, onto that second line. Sorry, our third line was going to be two central midfield players. Again, depending on the midfield dynamics, if they push their two attacking midfield players on, then we drop a little bit deeper. If not, then one of those central midfield players would push a little bit higher if they were deeper or if they were a double pivot. And then our fourth line was going to be our two centre backs. And our two fullbacks, narrow and compact and ready to deal with a long ball. So we spoke, because of the last two games, we spoke about obviously the opportunities of being in that side-on position that we spoke about prior to getting to the tournament. We spoke about the timing of when to actually move in terms of when the ball's going to come, in terms of direct play. So we spoke to the players, or reminded the players that we remind them all the time, but we reminded the players again that, you know, about setting off before the ball's actually struck. As in terms of reading the play, like if the head goes down, it looks like they're going to play a longer ball, set off before they actually strike it. So then you're coming onto everything rather than setting off after they've struck it and kind of scrambling a little bit and moving backwards. So that was kind of the message to the players in the defensive line. And then obviously after that, it was kind of dealing with that direct play and then seeing if we can win obviously winning first contacts, but then see if we can pick up second balls and win second contact. And effectively, like high press is for us, is keeping the opposition in their half. We knew that their goalkeeper wasn't going to play too many passes over our defensive line if we got it right, or he wouldn't play too many further into our half, especially from goal kicks. Might be a different story out of his hands towards the edge of the box, but we just wanted to make sure that we could try and keep the ball in their half, pick up the second ball, and then obviously try and get into attacking organisation playing in from there. So that just required us making sure we got good first contact on that direct play, and making sure that we picked up the second ball so we could make sure we could attack from there. And we're effectively doing what our high press is for us, and that's keeping the opposition in their half. If we had to do it a little bit lower, again, it was a case of making sure that the opposition could not get into our penalty area. So same kind of principles in terms of when you're defending a little bit lower to a little bit higher. And obviously our target of in a low press of not letting the opposition get into our penalty area, especially against a team with playing a direct style of play, then that's just making sure that again we win that first contact and try and pick up second balls in and around our defensive third. So that was the message to the boys in terms of defensive organisation and dealing with direct play. Okay, so let's have a look at the game review of our game against Hawaii Rush. In total transparency, we ended up losing this game 3-1 to Hawaii Rush, which was obviously a bit of a disaster for us because that's knocked us out of the tournament. And I'm sure you guys were well aware of a couple of weeks ago when I mentioned about the format of the tournament and that you get 3 group games and then you go into the quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals. So the fact that we were only planning and reviewing 3 games probably told you that we got knocked out in the group stages a couple of weeks ago. But it was a bit of a disaster for this game. I think obviously coming into this game we needed to win the game to go forward into quarterfinals after losing the first game and drawing the second game. We actually conceded a goal within 30 seconds of the game starting. They took the kick off. One of the players dribbled with it. Some of our players panicked a little bit, ended up fouling him about 40 yards out from goal, and it was a little bit of a cross-come shot which looped over our goalkeeper into the top corner. So to start a game like that was really difficult, especially when you're under a little bit of pressure to win this game against Hawaii, and that kind of set the boys off in a bit of a psychological battle with obviously that pressure of needing to win, and obviously conceding the goal really early on. That kind of set them into a little bit of a kind of rush forward as much as possible and panic play a little bit, which we'll get into in terms of the game review. But ultimately, as well as we only managed to film the first half of this game because the storage ran out on the VO. But when we get to the point of the second half, I'll talk about how kind of it went wrong in the first half compared to the first. When it went wrong in the second half compared to the first half. When we get to the game metrics that we do at the end of each game review. So anyway, let's have a quick look in terms of the positives and negatives, because there was some positives within the game, like there always is, and it's usually a case of when you're working with younger players and at the different levels, then usually something can be really good in the game, but then something can be really bad, and that was little bit of a case for us. So in terms of systems of play, we knew it was going to be a positive matchup. We knew that they were going to be a bit of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. 4-2-3-1 out of possession and a 4-3-3 in possession. It was pretty much like we thought in terms of how they might try and press, and it was pretty much how we thought in terms of how they might defend as well, and where we could exploit the spaces that they were going to leave us. But the first performance problem I want to talk about is attacking organisation is playing out, and we did. I mean, in the whole tournament, we did some uncharacteristic things for our team and how we'd been playing up until the tournament and previously, and obviously the season before, the season that led us to this tournament. So we did a couple of uncharacteristic things that I want to highlight in this video, and show kind of some of the stuff that we talk to the boys about all the time. But again, context of conceding that goal really early probably brought on a little bit of some of these uncharacteristic things. But let's have a look at the attacking organisation in terms of the playing out, and I'll just talk through, and I'll pause the video as we move along and talk about kind of what we talk about to the boys and some of the stuff that we went wrong in these couple of clips. So the first clip we're going to look at is from a goal kick, and we always talk to centre backs about trying to work the number 9. So just have a look here. Okay, so like this is our left centre back on the ball now. He's got the ball for the goalkeeper, so that the opposition number 9 is in the middle of that picture. So we've obviously got a 3 versus 1 against the number 9. Their wide forwards are nowhere near in the picture. Their number 10's not in the picture, so we don't have to worry about anybody else pressing our goalkeeper and our 2 centre backs. And we always talk about, just having a little bit of patience, maybe even just putting your foot on the ball a little bit. And obviously then just working the number 9, whether that's to go back to the goalkeeper and to the other centre half, whether it's going straight to the centre half, or whether it's just stopping, seeing what he does, and then maybe outplaying him 1v1. In this particular scenario, we probably could have even linked it to the other to our other centre back through our defensive midfield player, or even got him on the ball. But we just kind of found ourselves in these little moments here. So he's obviously got himself a little bit of space. Now what we're saying now is just stop there, put your foot on the ball, and have a look and wait to see what the number 9 does. We've even got a pass into our attacking midfield player who's just come into the screen on the right-hand side there. So we've even got a pass into our attacking right midfield player who could then link it out to the other centre-half like we talk about all the time, and then we could exploit the space down this side. But our centre-half just gets caught up on one side, ends up playing a bit of a heavy pass into our wide forward who... I can't see from that whether he actually controlled it or whether it went straight out of play. But we just got caught down one side a lot of the time, and not moving the ball to the other side of the pitch. Or once we'd created a bit of a strong and weak side, we didn't exploit the weak side of the opposition. Similar again in this particular clip here. So again, centre back, left centre back on the ball actually does brilliant there in terms of like the little feints and fake. To give himself time and space away from the 9. Effectively takes the 9 out of the game now. So what we're talking about now here is like, can he play it into our? I think we've just rotated on the side there. So that's our wide forward just coming on the inside there. So can he play a little ball into his feet and see if he can make something happen? Can he move the ball towards the opposition's attacking midfield player and make a 2v1 with our defensive midfield player, as you can see in the middle of the picture there? But again, he could even drive at their right wide forward who's coming towards him and play our fullback in. But again, just loads of time and space and a bit of a nothing longer pass. And that particular centre back's a right-footed player as well, so to try and play a longer pass on his left foot in that scenario with loads of space just puts us under a little bit of pressure, and obviously doesn't do what we're trying to do in terms of attacking organisation and playing out and getting into the opposition's half. So in the first half we had lots and lots of moments like that where we just, again, a little bit of panic, 1-0 down early, a little bit of panic and thinking we've got to go and score straight away to get ourselves back on level terms, which I totally get in terms of psychology, but it's a little bit uncharacteristic and a little bit away from how we play. And we had lots of moments, not just in the first half, in the second half as well, with a little bit like that. And we always talk about, as soon as the ball moves to one side of the pitch, all the opposition are going to move to that side of the pitch. So can we maybe take them a little bit further across and then switch the play, and obviously exploit the weak side that we've created through the link passes that we talk about all the time and in terms of playing around. So that was attacking organisation in terms of playing out. The next performance problem, which has been a performance problem for us throughout this tournament, and it continues to be a bit of a fight with this particular team in all of our games, and even in the games that we're currently having now. And that's obviously attacking transition, and it's that decision making again of whether you possess the ball and you get control, and which allows you to get into your attacking organisation shapes, or whether it's to progress the ball straight away. Now again, I mentioned about the psychology of going 1-0 down really early, pressure of the game. So attacking transition was all over the place in this particular game in terms of winning the ball back and trying to go forward straight away, because obviously the players feeling like they have to go and score quickly to amend that 1-0. But we found ourselves in lots of similar moments that we find ourselves in all the time. And again, it's trying to, and again, obviously understanding that, I'll just pause it there, understanding that the transition moments are the hardest moments, because obviously that's the chaos. The chaos of the ball turning over, and obviously can you get yourselves organised as quickly as possible and get pressure on the ball at the same time, and obviously in trying to win it back. So, or even when you get win possession back, can you keep it so that you're not constantly in the transitions and the game doesn't become about basketball. And we slipped into a little bit of basketball in this particular game, and keep talking about we're all about controlling those 4 moments. And if you're in basketball, you're not controlling any of the moments. So, again, typical scenario here. So we've lost it. Brilliant reaction from our centre forward. Brilliant reaction from the rest of the team. Left back gets on the ball here. Heavy touch, but our attacking centre midfield player gets on the ball here. And then this is the moment here now we're talking about. This is a perfect moment to get in control. So we'll play a little bit of a double pass. So our attacking midfielder and our left back just bounces it straight back. Now this moment here now. So as you can see now, if he just turns out now, then he's got our defensive midfielder there unmarked, who can switch the play. We can come back across the pitch through our centre backs, and we can maybe exploit the space that we've now got on this side of the pitch. But again, decision making ends up just trying to play a bit of a looped pass into a non area really. I can see and understand that kind of what he's trying to do is trying to get obviously a little bit of a dink pass over their right fullback for our left fullback running into the space. But again, we've won it back on that side of the pitch. We've had a couple of passes on that side of the pitch. Perfect opportunity to get control and switch it and try and exploit the space on this side. And again, loads of moments like this particular one, which just puts us under a little bit of pressure again. So again, another one in terms of, so this is a good example of us dealing with not quite dealing with direct play. We've got in terms of pressure on a first contact. In this particular case, our left back gets on the ball, does really well in terms of 1v1 outplaying. So here now, we're just talking about now. So again, our defensive midfield player's free in the middle of the pitch there. If you can just play a little reverse pass into him, I know that's obviously quite difficult. But again, a good opportunity for us now to obviously get the ball into our defensive midfield player, maybe create a 2v1 from our defensive midfield player and our attacking midfield players against one of their midfield players, or even move the ball across the pitch through our centre backs, etc., and use the space on this side. Like we mentioned in the game plan, we wanted to exploit spaces down the sides. And again, he's obviously just head down and just kind of played a nothing pass into some space where they're just going to pick the ball up and then obviously maintain their attack. So again, lots of little moments like this. Good example here of us dealing with direct play. So win the first header, which is good. Compete for the second ball. Get hold of it from our centre forwards point of view. Manages to good little bit of 1v1. So again, here now. So for us now, opportunity to play out to the wide player, or I think that's our left back who's gone into the wide area. Play out to our wide player, have a little bit of time on the ball, have a little bit of look of it, and then maybe exploit the space on this side of the pitch. As you can see, majority of the players are in that half. If you split the pitch into two vertical halves, most of the players on both teams are in that half from the defending the direct play. So opportunity now for us to get a foot on the ball, get control, and then maybe move the ball into this side of the pitch. But again, plays the ball into our wide forward, who actually does well, gets control of it, which is great. Again, still an opportunity to either play it back now to our defensive midfield player, or still play that pass out wide for us to get a foot on the ball and get hold of it. Again, swivels on it, tries to play another pass forward, which is a bit of a nothing pass, and then gives the opposition the kind of the get out clause of being able to clear it. So again, just lots of little moments like that where we could have got possession of the ball. We could have obviously then managed to get in control of the game and just calm down a little bit and do what I keep saying that we're good at in terms of attacking organisation, whether that's playing out or playing in. So again, just in terms of having the ball in this particular game, especially in the first half, we were really, really quite poor. And again, keep going back to that psychological, going 1-0 down early in the pressure of the game. But that's what we talk to the boys about all the time. And I'll mention this in the coaching journey review at the end about how quickly, if you're under pressure, how quickly can you get back into our game model and think correctly under pressure. And that's something we struggled with in this particular game with the ball. Let's have a look at a couple of the good moments in the game, which were really good, especially from the previous games that we had in terms of defensive organisation. And the high and low press and actually dealing with direct play, and we were much better dealing with direct play in this. This was like obviously coming away from the game disappointed, but it kind of gives us coaches a kind of bit of a positive that the players can deal with direct play. In the couple of examples that I'm going to show you here now. And like I said before, it was with the ball we weren't particularly great. Without the ball, we were particularly very good in this game compared to the last one. So again, this is actually really early in the game, and this is their first attempt at playing out. And after this, and obviously because we did really well in the high press, after this they didn't play out once. They kind of just played along. And this was really actually quite satisfying. So again, number 9 pressing, ball goes into, now this is actually their attacking left forward who's come on the inside. to pick up the ball, and that's our fullback who's actually in pursuit of him there. So, and this is a good little bit as well, where obviously sometimes you get in these situations where the ball's about to go into his feet there, and as you can see, we've got two players kind of both going towards it, and sometimes players can get a little bit mixed up in this about going and pressing a player that's not their player, and then they find it to the free player. But in this particular case, really good from our fullback, getting the pressure on, continuing to getting the pressure on, and then our wide forward actually ended up picking his man up as well. After that, obviously dealing with direct play. So again, goalkeeper, really good header, brilliant header from our centre back here. Obviously, then we're obviously competing for the second ball. Even though it's a little bit of a hook forward and it's a little bit of a nothing one, we actually managed to get hold of this eventually in this little moment here from our right back being really tight and really aggressive, which is great. And then we actually put a good little bit of play together in terms of playing in, and obviously could have probably done better from this scenario here. But again, it was just, and this is where we created a lot of our chances for. So I've just get hold of the. Pause it there. So from dealing with that direct play and competing and eventually picking up the second and third ball, now we're into a good playing in structure where we're able to attack, and this is where we created most of our chances from in this particular game, because like I said, we weren't particularly good in playing out, and we had a couple of moments in attacking transition where we were good, and this is actually where our equalising goal came from. But again, dealing with the direct play, picking up, being aggressive in 1v1 duels, picking up second and third balls, able to get into our attacking organisation, playing in shape now. And then obviously this is brilliant bit where we exploit the wide areas where we were talking about and the opposition's fullback. So 1v1 duel, which was brilliant, gets into the box and a clear penalty. And that's what we talk to the players all the time about, and we talk to our wide forwards. In that particular case, that was one of our central attacking midfield players who's got himself in a wide area. But we talk to our wide forwards all the time about, look, when you're in a 1v1, try and get the opposition back into their own penalty area, somewhere they don't want to be, and see if you can make them force them into a mistake like we did there. Okay, so just moving on into defensive transition in terms of what was really good and what was really satisfying for us coaches and good practice. And obviously we're constantly trying to win the ball back in 3 passes, and if we can't, we'll force it back and then get ourselves into attacking defensive organisation in terms of a high press. But these were again some brilliant moments here in terms of some really good reactions, and again we created a lot of our chances from having these good reactions as well. So we lose the ball in possession there. Really good reaction from the player who's lost it. Good from the centre back in terms of obviously cutting that through pass out. And then again, so this is the moments we struggle to have or not have too often in the game. So brilliant reaction. We've won the ball back in 3 passes, and then attacking transition. We've played backwards. We've played back into our goalkeeper, which now allows us to get into our attacking shape in defensive organisation. And this was a particularly good little bit of play that we had here as well. So able to find our fullback in the play. I'll just move that back a little bit. Well, in fact, I'll leave it there because our wide forward has dropped a little bit deeper. Fullback's gone with him, which creates that huge space in between opposition fullback and centre back, and that's our number 9 just running into that area now. So again, all from really good defensive transition, really good composed attacking transition. We're now into a good little bit of a playing in phase. Again, lose the ball. Brilliant reaction from our fullback here in terms of putting pressure on and just forcing the opposition into a mistake, which then allows us to maintain and sustain our attack in the opposition's half and continue to try and play in. Another good example of reacting as well. So again, us in possession, not in particular doing really, in terms of the playing out bit, doing particularly well. End up playing a little bit of I can see the idea here, a good little bit of movement beyond, not quite got the pass right, but again, brilliant reaction from our wide forward in terms of getting the pressure on, forcing mistakes, winning the ball back, obviously, and then again we managed to attack in transition, keeping the ball, and then obviously managing to get into an attacking organisation, playing in state from that particular throw-in. So, like I said, in this particular game, especially in the first half, and obviously I'm going to show you the metrics in the first half in a second, but really good out of possession, not so good in possession, and that was a bit of a story in the second half as well. Where we actually conceded the second and third goal from us winning the ball back in our half, trying to go forward too quickly, losing it, conceding a penalty, and then the third goal was us in attacking organisation, playing out, And it was that particular kind of press that we spoke about in the game plan, where they're attacking wide forward, jumped onto our centre back, and neither of our goalkeeper or centre back saw it. And we ended up giving the ball away in our own penalty area, and then that particular player scored the goal, and that was kind of game over. So again, story of the game was, and obviously these are the metrics from the first half, but story of the game was we were really good out of possession in terms of defensive transition when we lost it, and defensive organisation dealing direct play. But then when we got it, we just weren't very good with the ball. And as you can see here, so attacking our organisation was way down from the previous two games in terms of what we were used to. And obviously that's a combined score between playing out and playing in. But if you look down at playing out there, 29%, and obviously we've been close to our target of around 50% in the previous two games. So that was really, really poor in terms of what we used to. Playing in actually is not bad. So the playing in is actually 32%, and our target's 30% for playing in. So that wasn't too bad. But like I mentioned before, we got most of our playing in opportunities from really good defensive organisation in terms of dealing with direct play and then winning the ball back in their half, and having those good attacking transition moments that I've just shown you, rather than playing out and then playing in moments that we're kind of accustomed to. Again, attacking transition, again, 49%, really low in terms of the target that we always set ourselves in terms of 80%. And again, if you look at those numbers down at the bottom there, I mean, even like our possess stat is quite low there at 67%. Usually that's a lot higher, but again, progress is 31%, so that's really low. So the times that we had the ball and we're trying to progress, we rarely do progress. And that's something that we've got to address with the players. But again, trying to take the positives out of a really difficult game for us was defensive transition, defensive organisation. Now, you could look at defensive transition as like we're giving the ball away a lot, which was probably right, but we were still reacting really well and winning it back, which obviously gave us a chance to continue to get into attacking organisation moments and get through good attacking transition moments and good attacking organisation moments. So even though we weren't great with the ball, we were good at getting it back, which is, and again there, like, so reacting was like 90%, which was brilliant. So winning the ball back in 3 passes, and the recovery, again, like we don't have as many recovery numbers in terms of, obviously, like sometimes it's like 3 or 4 a game where we force the opposition back, so that's why it's 100%. But the reacting was really, really pleasing, and then defensive organisation was brilliant as well in terms of the high press. And in terms of like dealing with direct play. So as you can see there, high press 94%. That means that a lot of the time we were dealing really well with direct play and we were keeping the opposition from getting in our half. And then even when they did get in our half, we were really good at keeping them in or not letting them get in our penalty area. And like I said, that out of the 3 goals that we conceded, 2 of them were set plays. So in terms of like a set play, which was a cross-come shot, and obviously a penalty, which is obviously like disappointing, and then the 3rd goal was us giving it away in our own 18-yard box. So apart from that, we didn't really like give up any chances or give up any opportunities for them to get into our penalty area or even have shots on goal. So that was another disappointing one from the game. If we could have just had a little bit more composure in with the ball, then we'd have probably come out of the game quite comfortably. But these things happen. This is why football is one of the most popular sports in the game, because sometimes any team can win on any particular day. So, but there's some valuable lessons for us to be learned in this, and I'll get to them and I'll talk about them in the coaching journey review, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so I just wanted to get through or talk about a little bit of our game metrics and how we calculate our game metrics in each phase of the game. We've just had a lot of questions from people about, obviously, we put the metrics slide up after each game, in part of each game review, and then we always get some questions about, like, how are you getting to these numbers, how are you, where these targets kind of come from. As I mentioned before, we're still kind of in a little bit of a work in progress around the targets. We've kind of put those really high targets for the top end of the game and kind of like some of the levels that we've worked at. Now, obviously, those targets might be a little bit high initially for your team, obviously depending on age and stage of development. And even with this under 15s grassroots team that I'm working with here in the US, like, those targets might be a little bit too high at the moment. So we're still playing with that. But in terms of, like, obviously, like we've just seen from those particular game metrics, like, we comfortably hit 2. of the out of possession targets within the game metrics. So I think over a period of time, and obviously when we do a little bit more game metrics around the pro game, which is going to be in the coming months, and continue to experiment with the teams that I'm working with here, then we'll probably get to a happy medium of the different levels and where the targets need to be. But those targets just came from kind of what we felt, or studying kind of some of the top teams like Manchester City, Liverpool, around Europe, in terms of how they operate in terms of attacking organisation, how they operate in terms of transition moments and defensive organisation moments, and we kind of came up with those targets of where we think top teams should be aiming for. And we've used those targets ever since. And some of the levels that we've worked at, the players, even the younger players in Premier League academies, have hit those targets quite comfortably in a lot of games. And obviously you're working around those targets in your training all the time. But I just wanted to get into a little bit of how we calculate the game metrics around those targets. So what we do is we have a definition for each moment of the game. So what we've done recently as well is we've actually split the 4 moments of the game. So we've split those 4 moments of the game into kind of 8 phases. So we've got two phases per moment, if that makes sense. So for example, in attacking organisation, we've got playing out. And we've got playing in. So they're the two moments within this particular phase. Target's obviously 50%, and that's an average target of playing out and playing in. Still kind of playing with whether that should be a combined target or whether it should be an average target, but we're going with average at the moment. So for each phase we have a definition. So for example, the attacking organisation is triggered when we achieve 3+ passes, which we talk about in attacking transition, or we have a dead ball situation, i.e. a goal kick, a free kick, a throw in or a corner. So effectively we class ourselves in attacking organisation in those particular moments of 3+ passes or a dead ball. And then the definition of playing out, of obviously hitting that 50% target, is to progress into the attacking half, exchanging 1 clean pass or by travelling 10+ metres in a controlled manner. And this will then see us move into our play-in phase. So that's kind of how we look at a successful playing out moment. So we've got the ball in our half in a controlled state. And obviously, can we progress into the opposition's half with a clean pass or 10+ metres in a controlled manner, and that can be via a pass or via a dribble. An unsuccessful playing out would be losing possession of the ball in our defensive half, which I've just shown you a couple of examples of in the game review, and this will see us move into our defensive transition phase or our defensive organisation phase. So just clear kind of definition and clear of what we're kind of looking at and what we're going after. Obviously playing in, which is obviously a target of 30%, so 30% of the time we have the ball, we're looking to get into the opposition's penalty area, so we're looking to progress the ball into the palace of points, and making sure that we achieve first contact on the ball, and this can be done by a shot on target from outside the box, across, a pass or a dribble into the box. So if it's a cross, then we're looking to get clear first contact, even if the ball goes off target, so that could be a header or a bit of a volley. If we, I just showed you in the game review there, where our player won a penalty by dribbling into the box, that would be a successful playing in entry into the penalty area. And obviously you can have shots on target from outside the box, would class as a successful playing in. Obviously that's not getting into the penalty box, but that will be classed as a successful playing in. An unsuccessful playing in would be losing possession of the ball in our attacking half, which will again see us moving into defensive transition or defensive organisation phase. And an unsuccessful playing in would be us playing back into our defensive half and not moving the ball back into the attacking half within 3 passes. So if we win the ball in and around the halfway line or 10 metres into the opposition's half, if we then get it, or if we have it there and we play back to our centre-backs who are a little bit deeper than the halfway line, or even back to our goalkeeper, which sometimes we do to get a little bit more control and kind of start again, and obviously spread the opposition out and move them further away from their goal. This will be classed as a playing in fail, but then would move into our playing out phase, or even if we lose it, defensive transition or defensive organisation phase as well. So for each phase of the game, so for each 4 of the phases, we've got a clear target, clear definition, and then a clear definition of the 2 moments within that phase. In this case, it's playing out and playing in. So again, like how we calculate it is obviously we'll watch the games back, and I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of how we calculate playing out compared to that definition. So, and this is a pass into the attacking half. I'm just going to show you some stills from the examples that we've got, just because YouTube copyright laws would probably be all over us if these were actual videos. So, but again, like within each definition, we've got an example from the pro game of what we kind of class as a successful playing out from our attacking our defensive half. So first one we're going to look at is playing out with a pass into the attacking half. So as you can see here, in and around the halfway line, we're looking to obviously centre back on the ball. We're looking to progress the ball across the halfway line 10 plus metres with a controlled pass. Or complete one clean pass in the opposition's half. So again, we're just looking at obviously different ways of getting into the opposition's half. So looking at in this particular case a link pass through a centre midfield player to get the right centre back on the ball in a little bit of space. So once he's in a little bit of space, now the opportunity is to pass into the attacking half, and in this particular case, get the right back on the ball 10 plus metres into the attacking half, which you can see in this particular example here now. So that would be a successful playing out for us in terms of a pass into the attacking half, and then obviously you go into the playing in phase once you get into that bit there. Next one, we're just going to show you again. Okay, so this is an example of attacking organising playing out in with a dribble into the attacking half. So again, obviously you'll build from your goalkeeper at times, you'll build from your centre backs at times in terms of your organisation and your attacking state. So usual scenario in terms of a playing out of a 5v3. So again, just looking at ways to be able to try and get into that opposition's half. So in this particular case, link pass through a high central midfield player into a lower central midfield player. And again, once we're in that typical scenario there, now we can get our free player on the ball, which is in this case is the left fullback. And then because the left fullback's got lots of space in front, then he's able to dribble into the attacking half. So again, this would be a successful playing out for us, and then obviously going into a playing in moment. Okay, so again, we have, like I keep mentioning, we've got the 4 phases of the game model. We've broken that down into two moments per phase, and then obviously we've got clear definitions and video examples of each one of those as well. So we're crystal clear in terms of what we're looking for in terms of the game metrics in reviewing our game and watching them back. And then what we do. So again, like this is our scoring sheet that we use and this is the particular one from the game that I've just done in terms of a game review. So what we do then is we'll just make sure that we tally up all the kind of moments that we have in terms of the phases and the moments within the phase. So as you can see here, so for example, attacking organisation, in terms of playing out, we'd put the amount of times that we attempted to play out, so the amount of times that we had the ball, like those still pictures that I showed you there. So the amount of times we had the ball in terms of a controlled possession in our defensive half, and then obviously we'd mark the success next to that of how many times we got into the opposition's half, and then that would total it all up and give us a total percentage. And we do obviously the same for playing in, and it's all about kind of like the attempts and then the success of those attempts. And again, it just gives you clear ideas and clear kind of numbers of where in the game you're going wrong, where in the game you're really successful. And like I mentioned before, this is brilliant for us in terms of our game model and reviewing our games and obviously watching games back in a completely different way, rather than watching the game back and going, oh, that was a good bit. Now it's clear kind of what we're looking for, and one where we need to improve, and one what we're good at, because obviously after that shapes your coming week in terms of your training and your preparation, and kind of shows where you need to go with your team and moving forward. And that's something that with the particular teams that I'm working with here, and listen, not everybody can film the games, and not everyone's got access to a camera to film the games and stuff, but like for us, this is just for some of the top teams, or our top teams in the club that we work with here. that's like really really good for them in terms of like how to review the game, how to watch it back, and then obviously how that shapes you trying to improve your team. And that's been really good for us. But that's how we calculate it. That's how we get to that game metrics slide with everything calculated, and obviously, and that's how we define each moment and each phase and the 2 moments within each phase as well. Okay, finally, we just want to do a quick coaching journey 2 review from this obviously Aggies FC under 15s little period that we've just had, and obviously get into a little bit of the bones at where we believe we need to improve to go to the next level. And for us, the next level would be obviously like winning State Cup again if we can in this coming autumn. And then obviously when you win State Cup, you qualify for the regional tournament we've just been to, and obviously such a disappointing time at that regional tournament, as we felt like we didn't perform to what we are capable of and what we've performed previously, getting to that point of that tournament. But on the next step now for us is getting back to that regional tournament and doing a lot better than we did. And we kind of went into that regional tournament thinking that we'd have a good chance of winning it, kind of the way we've been playing and kind of the way we play and kind of what we offer. And it obviously didn't work out, which can happen in football. We totally appreciate that, and obviously came unstuck with a few things. But now it's just about improving and going back and see if we can kind of right the wrongs and get back there again and do better and win that and go to nationals, which should be something that no team from where we are has ever done before. So that's something that we want to talk about in this particular review and how we kind of go to that next level. Something else we want to talk about in this particular review as well is like just a few of the things that we feel as though the boys can improve on, and obviously that goes around our four corner model, which is obviously psychosocial, technical, tactical, and physical, which I'll get into in a minute. But as coaches, obviously, it's really important that you do regular reviews of what you're doing, whether that's you review each training session, you review, obviously, if you can film your games and review your games, obviously that's even better for your week's work in terms of training. But having a little review yourself of yourself is really important as well. And obviously thinking about things that you can do better, thinking about ways you can teach the players better, because obviously you're all in this together. And what we usually do at Position Specific, and we have done for years, is when things go wrong, we try not to make excuses, we try not to blame the players, we try to look at ourselves first and think, well, you know, like the things that went wrong, could we have been better at coaching? Could we have been better at teaching? So those things, one, don't happen again, but the players have better understanding of what we're looking for. And that's really, really important. So that's kind of the whole process of a review. But these are the things that we thought that we needed to improve on as a team, and some of the challenges that we needed to bring to the players so we could move forward and obviously go to the next level. Just want to say here as well is like, because a lot of the boys that I've been coaching within this coaching journey watch these videos, and that's been really good in terms of like getting them to rewatch a lot of kind of stuff for a refresh on the game model stuff. Sometimes, like obviously we talk about the game model a lot in practice and in training, but it's good for them to sit down and go through these videos and kind of like have a little bit of a reflection themselves. Obviously they'll see the good bits that happen, they'll see the bad bits that happen, but it's all about improvement, it's all about development from them as well. But their achievement to get to regional tournament was tremendous. Like it's, you know, there's not a lot of teams in our area here win State Cup. They're the only boys team from our area who's won State Cup at 9v9 and 11v11. So they've won it twice, and no other boys team from this area has done that. So it's a tremendous achievement getting to that regional tournament. And the season they had off the back of winning the State Cup was unbelievable. And I mentioned it right at the start in the first of this coaching journey too, in the first video, about how they went 30 games, just losing one game in the Utah Platform League, which is like a league of all the best teams in Utah. And they lost one game in that and finished second. Apart from that, they won every other game. And it was just a tremendous season, tremendous run in the State Cup, brilliant performance in the State Cup final, obviously being under that pressure and playing our style of play in that final and winning it. So to get to regionals, as disappointing as it was when we were there, it was still a magnificent achievement. So that's really a positive for the boys as well. And that's something again that we talk to the boys about again of, always wanting to achieve that little bit more, always wanting to go to that step further. So let's have a look at some of these reviews that we've come up with in terms of psych and social, technical, tactical, and physical. We'll start with what we think is the most important in terms of psychosocial. So as coaches, we kind of we wanted to talk about how we wanted to do more out of state competitions. We obviously, the boys have played their whole little careers in Utah. When you play obviously a lot in Utah and you do really well in Utah, you get used to the level of competition that you're playing against within your own state. And we found that a little bit that the boys are very comfortable playing against teams here. They have success against teams here. They're very comfortable in playing in tournaments here. Obviously, they've won State Cup here a couple of times. So we feel as though now is when we went to the regional tournament and all of a sudden we started playing against teams that they'd never seen before, playing against players they'd never seen before. We felt like, especially in the first game, there was a little bit of trepidation and a little bit of kind of nerves and a little bit of kind of imposter syndrome from in that scenario. So one of the things we've said as coaches is that we want to play more out of state competitions during the season and during the year to prepare us better to go to these regional tournaments where we meet teams from all over the US. So that's something that we want to do. We want to kind of get away from that imposter syndrome, that nervousness of playing teams outside of Utah, and preparing the boys a little bit better for that out of state competition when we get to those regional and national tournaments. And the other major one for psych and social for us is and I mentioned it towards the end of the game review, is the in-game mentality of getting back to the game model as quickly as possible. And you see a lot of the top teams, and most recently Spain in the Euros. And if anyone gets the chance to go back and watch the second half against England in the Euros final, where Spain are dominating the game, they're dominating all four phases of the game, and then they concede a bit of a weird counter-attack goal against England, and it obviously goes to 1-1. You'd expect momentum to change, and for about 5 or 10 minutes momentum was with England, and they didn't create any more chances, but they were kind of on the front foot and giving Spain a little bit more problems, which you'd expect in a change of momentum. But Spain got back to the game model so quickly, and got back to controlling those four phases of the game so quickly. It's effectively the reason why they went on to win it. And within 10 minutes or 5 minutes of England's goal, Spain were back to doing what Spain are really good at. And that obviously set them on then to go and score the winner and win the tournament, which, as an Englishman, gutted about, but you have to kind of acknowledge the quality, mainly of the mentality, mainly of that psychosocial kind of mentality of we're under a little bit of pressure. Can we get back to doing what we're good at rather than getting caught up in the momentum swing and getting caught up in that basketball game, which can obviously affect your rhythm. So, and I know I appreciate that's very much working with a grassroots team here. That's very much an elite mentality, but the boys are doing so well within the game model. Why not try and add that next step of putting them in scenarios where they're under pressure? Can you get back to the game model as quickly as possible? And that is a psychological thing more than a technical and tactical and a physical. So that's something that we've got to work with the boys on. From a technical point of view, obviously, we're encouraging the players to practice more away from training around individual development. For those coaches who are subscribed to our website, on our website, obviously we have the whole kind of models for the coaches to follow in terms of foundation, youth, and then obviously a game model. But obviously we want players to be able to follow that kind of same stuff away from practice. So we've developed a whole player individual model that players can go away and practice on everything that we preach to them, and develop themselves away from training, and just encourage them to practice more and kind of take away that, I don't know what I'm supposed to be practicing. It's all there for them. We've also got all the game model for videos on there as well, explaining each moment of the game and explaining how we want to operate each moment of the game. So anytime we do anything tactical, within in training. We can send the boys away to watch the video to have a refresh around each moment, depending on which moment we're watching. So, and that's been a game changer for us, especially at this club in the younger age groups. That's been a huge game changer. And one of the issues that I've found since being in America is that players don't practice enough away from practice. And we talk about that it only takes 20 minutes a day. Rule of 100: if you do 20 minutes a day, it's 100 hours a year. You'll put yourself in the top 5% of the what you're working in. If you want to get into the 1-2%, then you'll do more than 20 minutes a day. But 20 minutes a day is nothing. So getting the players encouraging them to practice more away from training around individual development is really important to us. And obviously continuing that emphasis on developing 1v1 players in training, encouraging players to be more comfortable in 1v1s, and encouraging players to embrace the pressure of the 1v1 rather than kind of having that panic moment. Can they embrace it and enjoy that pressure of a 1v1? And that's really important to us, and that's going to be a huge emphasis in our training moving forward, and it has been since we've come back from regionals, and improving players in 1v1s and individually, because like I keep mentioning, like, you can have all the tactics and the game models in the world, but if your players can't handle the ball, then it's it doesn't make much difference having all that in place. So technical training and making sure that we're improving players technically all the time is really important. And then another one which has been a major kind of obviously one from us from this particular regionals tournament is developing individual defending. And I know we did it a couple of times, 2 or 3 times leading up to the regional tournament, but we just feel as though we need to do it more. And we need to do it more in terms of getting the players to do those individual defending circuits that we've done, Marcelo Bielsa style. That we showed you in throughout this coaching journey, but that's got to be huge emphasis, especially when, like, we came up against 3 teams in the regional tournament who didn't play out from the back at all very much. They just played very direct, and as we can deal with it, we didn't deal with it consistently enough, and that's around individual defending. So winning headers, clean volleying in terms of clearances. Obviously 1v1 defending from the front, the side and the back. Obviously being more aggressive in 1v1 duels all over the pitch. That's something that we really wanted to develop the players on more. Into the tactical side of things, we felt like adding more sessions to the current schedule, especially during high school period if we get to regionals next year. So if we do win State Cup again, then instead of training once every 2 weeks when the boys are in the high school kind of season, we want to make sure that we're training every week. And yeah, we understand that players might not be able to get there every week, but that is something that we want to make sure that we do. We want to train more than we did this time around in that high school period before we get the boys back as normal and go into that regional tournament. And obviously controlling the transitions, and you control the game, so having a more tactical emphasis on the targets of the transitions. We feel as though we work the transitions a lot, and we feel as though that even when we do attacking organisation, defensive organisation, tactical sessions, we include the transitions in that. So it's just, I think it's more of emphasising to the boys how important it is trying to control those transitions, and trying to control them in the way that in the most suitable way for us. And we spoke about as coaches as well, is like obviously we do have that kind of, especially in attacking transition, we do have that either that possess or progress kind of decision making part for the players. And we feel that we've kind of loosely spoke around maybe in certain areas of the pitch, like having little rules around, right, well, in this area of the pitch you have to possess. In this area of the pitch you have to possess. In this area of the pitch, then you've got the choice whether you possess or progress. So we're going to play with that a little bit in terms of tactical coaching of the boys. But again, control the transitions, control the game. So we feel as though we work it enough. We just feel as though we need to emphasise it more to the boys and emphasise more exactly what we're looking for in terms of the game model and making sure we coach that to the boys. And then finally, physical. We don't feel as though we need to be fitter. We don't feel as though we need more pace in the team, or we need more size in the team, or anything like that. And I'm not one for recruitment or anything like that. I'm more for development. But we feel as though we've got good size in the team. We feel as though we've got good pace in the team. The only thing is we need to develop more physicality in 1v1 duels and dealing with direct play. But we feel as though that's probably something that we can teach the boys in the technical side of it, and we feel as though that's something we can try and develop in the boys from a psychosocial point of view as well. So a lot of the time, say to players all the time, a lot of the time it's really important that they have that mentality that they're going to be physical in a 1v1 duel, and they're going to be physical when they're dealing with direct play. So that's something that we need to get into the boys, and ultimately we just need to improve them. We need to develop them and continue to try and develop them. And like I mentioned before, it's not a case of we're not in a position where we could go out and find new players, and we wouldn't want to do that anyway. But we're not in a position to do that. We're in a position where we have to rely on development. We have to rely on development of the individuals, and we have to rely on development of the team, and that's the fundamentals of position specific for us. We are all about developing individuals, and then we're all about developing the team. And like I mentioned before, you can have all the game models and you can have all the tactics in the world, but if you don't develop individuals, then you're on the road to nowhere. So that's something that we want to do, and we want to develop the boys, and we've got a good group of kids who want to be developed, they want to learn. So hopefully, we can move on to the next level, and we can push them to the next level, and we can make them better. And for us, that's what it's all about. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Coaching Journey 2 series that we've done. Thank you really a lot, ever so much, for the comments that you've made, for the feedback that you've given us, for the messages that you've sent us on social media. That's been fantastic, and it's been great to hear that lots of you have really enjoyed the two journeys that we've done so far. If you're new to us, like I mentioned all the time, if you're new to us, make sure you subscribe. If you like the videos, make sure you hit a like. And if you do have any comments and questions, then please feel free to put them in the comments. Put them in the comments, and we do get back to all the comments. If you don't feel comfortable putting a comment out there for the public, if you visit our website at positionspecific.com, you can contact us through email through that. And for us, what's coming next is we are obviously going to, the next few months, we're going to promote all the stuff that we have on our website. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that you've seen through the coaching journey around the game model and the individual models, we're going to promote that over the next few months, and try and get that to a level where we're getting more people involved in what we do and how we work, and hopefully get more people kind of doing this stuff with their teams, and obviously encouraging their players to obviously practice, to train away from training, and we can help with that as well. We're going to continue to put videos on YouTube, on our Position Specific YouTube channel, around what we do in terms of individual and team stuff. So lots of things are going to be coming in the next few months, and then the coaching journey will return. We'll have a coaching journey 3 later in 2024, maybe early 2025. Just working out what team we're going to do the coaching journey with next. I've got a couple of good younger teams that I'd like to maybe do that, who have just transitioned out of 9v9 to 11v11, but that's something that we've got on the horizon as well. So lots of things coming soon. But until then, again, thank you very much for watching. I'm really glad that we've had lots of people who've enjoyed it, and hope you enjoy this last video as well. And we'll see you soon.